Let's talk real quick about everything that's happened in the last few hours. I guess I'll start with something back in time. This is Long Beach, California on May 1st. Sharing my screen now. Yes, share computer sound. Why do I have to do this each time? This is filmed by a friend of mine. You can hear her in the video.
Sorry. They're getting ready to gas us. They have their masks on. This has been a peaceful protest.
It's been peaceful the whole time. Only protesters have been hurt. They've been shooting at us. We've been peaceful. They're ready to gas us now.
They are ready to gas us.
Keep
This
going,
has been
guys.
peaceful.
Keep going. Our hands are up and it's still peaceful. Keep going. Yes, I see it. Okay, we gotta move. Keep going, guys. Keep going, ladies. Keep going.
Keep moving. They're marching in. This has been peaceful. They are shooting. This has been peaceful. They are shooting. This has been peaceful.
Okay, so please just start firing rubber bullets at my friend and that very small group of protesters. Kind of insane. Really crazy that this is even happening on video. That was such a clear video. I really thank my anonymous friend for filming it. That was so clear, and everyone was clearly stating that they had their hands up. And then the cops just rushed him and started firing 40mm rounds. It's insane. It is insane. Okay. Oh, shut up. Let's share again. Here's their narrative from the 31st in Long Beach, California. Both protests we went to were peaceful until the cops showed up. She, my friend, has footage of cops shooting rubber bullets and tear gas at them as they run away. It's terrifying. Here's in the middle of it after they have already shot at three people bleeding on the street, one finger blown clean off, etc., etc. And they literally did nothing except one person threw a water bottle at the cops, which didn't even hit them. Here is after most protesters fled. My wife and anyone remaining were chased off and shot at. So back in time to the 31st. Here's another account from Southern California from another friend who witnessed this on May 31st in Irvine, California. Within 30 minutes of small, peaceful protests in Irvine, police showed up in riot gear and antagonized people. They weren't standing in the streets. They weren't doing anything. They and the police removed two people who were being aggressive. The protesters and the police removed two protesters who were being too aggressive with the support of protesters. But then the police got aggressive. So now let's go to the start of vigilante justice. If you remember in the last update and in this document, Trump nonsensically mentioned that the Second Amendment was being threatened by people, by these protesters, and he's going to stop the protest to save the Second Amendment. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of texts from very important texts while I do this. He's going to stop the protest and use force and heavy weapons and somehow relate. It's just totally irrelevant to bring up the Second Amendment. I think it's a subtle dog whistle because, already this morning we had 9:42 a.m. on June 1st. This was at our peaceful protest where we didn't harm anyone or anything. There were three guys, white, who had their guns loaded and ready to shoot. Oh, come on, computer. They got escorted peacefully. Then the police showed up with riot gear for us protesters for marching on the sidewalk. Crazy. So that's this morning, June 1st. I guess it's June 2nd now. Shortly after, I know there's been some people shot by the cops. I don't know enough about them, and I'm like so overwhelmed with info. So someone please cover those, because those are the stories that are going to get covered. And I feel like it's more valuable right now to do the things that I'm seeing around Twitter and synthesize it into one place. But there are now 2 all-white armed vigilante groups roaming Fishtown with the blessing of the Philly police. That happened June 1st, 6:29 p.m. That is right after Trump's speech. Here's another one. Also in Philly. The armed white vigilante group in Fishtown was earlier taking group photos with cops and allowed to be on roofs with assault rifles. We're protecting our neighborhood. I don't know. Is that code or are they just that stupid? Is that code or are they stupid? Anyway, they specifically say Second Amendment 2A, say Philly. That's even... also, this guy right here, this is not a rifle. This loser's using a break action pellet gun. What a butthole. Losers. So now you can see the police are right below them. They know what's going on and they don't care. They feel comfortable with these counter protesters and people guarding against looting being there. Now here you can see a video of them and you can hear what they say.
The police want a picture with us with our rifles and shit.
The police want a picture of us with our rifles and shit. How badass is that?
No, we're not getting down. They want to stay up here. No, they want to...
Yep, this is how you take your neighborhood back. Cops are out here.
This is how you take your neighborhood back. Cops are out here.
And, you know, these are police, and we are up here with AR-15s.
These are police. We are up here with AR-15s. We are protecting our neighborhood with AR-15s. The police are clearly comfortable with them. Would they be so comfortable with black protesters? I do not think so. Or even white protesters who they disagree with because they are total a-holes. Here is from May 31st, 8:39 p.m. I'm not sure what city this is in. I think it's either New York or Boston, I think. I don't know. It doesn't matter. So this police is waving his... I'm sorry, this guy's not a cop. This is a civilian. This is just a guy with an AR-15 and some tactical gear, probably from Airsoft, and think he's a cool little man. Allegedly, oh, it's in Chicago. Okay, great. Now I can see it. I'm dumb. Anyway, this guy points his guns at peaceful protesters holding up signs. The cops are calm here. Clearly it's peaceful because the cops are not even spraying people anyway, which are doing a drop of a hat everywhere else. So it's clearly peaceful. He points his gun at someone. The cops just give him a talking to. So the police just let him walk away. It's insane. That's in Chicago. They have strict gun laws. That's not legal. That is not legal. That's evil. So the police are just, letting these people do whatever they want, and then they're still tear gassing protesters. The police are really on the side of evil. Second to last, there was a white nationalist group that came out today because they don't want to be targeted as terrorists on Twitter. They have been posing as Antifa and stirring shit up. This is not that important of an article to me, but anyway, here you have it. It's cited right there. Now, here's the biggest thing. I love God. I'm a good guy. I'm a good Christian. I love the Bible. Have you ever read the Bible? I have. I love it. I love it so much that I'm gonna fucking gas clergy to show everyone how much I love the Bible. Earlier, about 7 p.m., the mayor tweets out, I imposed a curfew in D.C., the mayor of D.C. at 7 p.m., a full 25 minutes before the curfew without provocation. And without provocation, federal police use munitions on peaceful protesters in front of the White House, an act that will make the job of D.C. Police Department officers more difficult, shameful. The mayor of D.C. is saying without her approval, Trump, and it turns out Trump was directly involved in this, planning this. About 6:35 p.m., Trump starts gassing people, shooting at people. And why, you ask? Why? Well, it turns out that Trump wanted and planned, his PR people planned a impromptu, unpermitted photo shoot at St. John's Episcopal Church, a historic church where most of the presidents have attended. So he decides he's going to gas people there. Well, the problem with that is the clergy, that church belongs to the Episcopal Diocese of Washington. The clergy had given people permission and were in attendance there, providing medical aid on the porch of their church. Their church. Here's a first-hand account. This person is apparently clergy. Friends, I'm okay, but I'm frankly shaken. I was at St. John's most of the afternoon with fellow clergy and lay people, and clergy from other denominations. All was well with a few little tense moments until about 6:15 or so. By then, I connected with a BLM medic team, which was headed by an EMT. Those people were amazing. They had been on the patio all day and thankfully had not had to use much of the eye wash they had made. Around 6:15 or 6:30, the police started really pushing protesters off H Street. They talk about running away. They're gassing protesters around the church, in the park, and on the street, and then pushing them with riot shields. And then they start driving the crowds toward them and gassing people. I was coughing. Her eyes were watering. This is still on the church. I was at the church. I was coughing. Her eyes were watering, and we were trying to help people as the police in full riot gear drove people toward us. Julie and her classmates left, and I stayed with the BLM folks trying to help people. Suddenly, around 6:30, there was more tear gas, more concussion grenades, and I think I saw someone hit by a rubber bullet. He was grasping his stomach, and there was a mark on his shirt. The police in their riot gear were literally walking onto the St. John's Lafayette Square patio with these metal shields, pushing people off the patio and driving them back. People were running at us as the police advanced towards us from the other side of the patio. People were running towards a church for help and shelter as police start gassing them and pushing them for no reason. Well, there is a reason they did it. It's not a good reason. I was so stunned I only got a few water bottles and my spray bottle of eye wash. We were literally driven off the St. John's Square patio with tear gas and concussion grenades and police in full riot gear. We were pushed back 20 feet and then eventually with so many concussion grenades back to K Street. By the time I got back to my car around 7, I was getting texts from people saying that Trump was outside of St. John's, Lafayette Square. I literally could not believe it. We were driven off the patio at St. John's, a place of peace and respite and medical care throughout the day, so that man could have a photo opportunity in front of the church. People were hurt so he could pose in front of the church with a Bible. He would have had to step over the medical supplies we left behind because we were being tear gassed. Couple articles, Twitter statuses, photos. Here's a statement from the Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a statement. It's a summary. I haven't seen the full statement yet. The Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, who watched the scene unfold while away from church visiting her mother, said church officials were not told of the plan and expressed outrage at the White House's use of riot control tactics on a generally peaceful crowd to clear a path for the president. In Lafayette Square, one of the visiting priests attended St. John's was sprayed with tear gas as she tried to help scared demonstrators leave the area. The church did not give permission for Trump to use this. They did not know about it. Trump and his PR team decided it's worth gassing people so Trump can hold up a Bible. Christianity in America has been co-opted by the right wing and fascists. I want to show you a picture. The moment the moment that changed, I think, not my perspective or beliefs at all, but I guess changed that I'm no longer willing to be a part of any church or any friends with any Christian who says that I'm sorry, I'm so disorganized, who says that they do not support these protests, or that they are on the police's side, or that they will vote for Trump. It is disgusting. This is an icon, an archetype, a symbol, a foreshadowing of the Antichrist. This is not Christianity. This is the opposite. This is anti-Christian. Trump is not only Christian, or he's not only not Christian, he's not only a sinner that's recalcitrant and stubborn. He is anti-Christian. He's against Christianity. This is lines in the sand. This is the limit in terms of not my own beliefs and what I'm willing to do, but in terms of what I'm willing to put up with from other people. Do not tell me you're Christian and see this video and that you're not bothered by that, and you won't publicly condemn and not vote for Donald Trump. This is the most outrageous thing I've heard of in terms of church and state in the United States. I'm going to rephrase that because that was insensitive. There's a lot worse that happens to people outside the church or vulnerable populations within the church. I'm sure there's a million things I don't even know about. But the point I'm making is, symbolically, this is the most clear and disturbing expression of an American president or an American leader publicly literally using on video the Bible. And you know what? No, I'm sorry. I'm being naive. I'm being really stupid and naive right now. Bullshit on everything I just said. The KKK burned crosses on people's lawns. I'm sorry, I just totally let my naivete, youth, and narrow focus and narrow knowledge on history blind me for a minute. This is really bad nonetheless, and it's blasphemy against God and Christianity. And Christianity, the church, especially the traditional churches that have a tradition and a history rooted in ancient Christianity, they need to be stepping up and appointing scholarly priests and clergy to combat heresy, to combat anti-Christian heresy. I know people who are not religious will not care about what I'm saying, but this is a big deal in terms of a ecclesiastical problem. We have to combat these heretics like they are Arians. Because like the Arians, from the time around the 325 Council of Nicaea, they are actively promoting killing to get what they want and to get into power, and using religion as a tool, not because they really believe these things, but because it's advantageous. At least it's how the church fathers described some of the Arians. I'm sure it's not that black and white with them, but it is that black and white with American politics. The church has to step up. Because if you read that QAnon article in The Atlantic the other day, I'll link that in the document soon. There are evangelical churches that are incorporating devotions to Q, devotions and readings of QAnon. I don't mean worship. Maybe it's getting there. Maybe it'll get there. I don't know. But readings from Q. And in their church services. That is, if you don't know what QAnon is, that is scary. Church needs to be stepping up and vigorously combating this heresy and the heresy of right-wing ideology like this, because it is a heresy. Because this is not a theory about economics. This is not a theory about politics. This is not about abortion. These people that Trump and the people who are involved in these Christian conspiracies, they are... That was scary. I just heard like a massive, deep boom. I don't think the mic picked it up because it was so deep and I have a filter on, but that made my heart jump. I heard, helicopters too earlier, but nothing's happening in this little town, I don't think, but at least I don't hear it, but it did scare me. Anyway, what was I saying? I got distracted. That's the devil. That's the devil trying to get me to stop this. Distract me. Anyway, this is not true Christianity. This is not true Christianity at all. And anyone who says otherwise or falls for this, after seeing this video and after looking at the document, shame on you. God's going to judge you. I won't judge your final status. You can always repent, and no one should, and God will not hold that against you. And I won't. Anything you've done in the past once you repent. But, man, you are showing yourself to be stubborn and recalcitrant. I'm going to look up the definition of recalcitrant. Yeah, having an obstinately uncooperative attitude towards authority or discipline. You might call the protesters that, but you're doing that because you're going against the authority of God. Sorry, I'm a little relaxed right now. Maybe because I'm starting to lose my mind. But anyway, I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want to be part of your church if you are not publicly condemning Trump and the Republicans that are doing this, and the Democrats who are doing this, and the police who are brutal, and the military who is brutal, and the whole system that is brutal. If you are not condemning this, symbolized perfectly, to wrap it up in a nice bow, the one focal point that we can really hone in on, I think, is Trump holding up the Bible as he gasses protesters, and everything else revolves around that. It's a nice little model in your head, like I talked about earlier. If you're not seeing that and condemning it, I want nothing to do with you. You are cut off until you truly repent. And the church should really be stepping up and battling you publicly battling you.